What would you do if you saw someone being humiliated just for looking different? Would you speak up, or would you stay silent like everyone else in this story? Mrs. Chen shuffled into the luxury car dealership, her cardigan buttoned tight against the air conditioning. At 74, she'd learned to move carefully, but her eyes still sparkled with curiosity as she admired the gleaming vehicles. Tyler was polishing a red sports car when he spotted her. 23 years old and full of himself, he nudged his colleague Jake. "Check this out." "Excuse me, ma'am," Tyler called out, not bothering to hide his smirk. "Are you sure you're in the right place?" "The city bus stop's right outside." Mrs. Chen looked up from the price sticker she'd been reading. "Oh, I'm just looking around, dear." "Looking around?" Tyler's voice got louder, drawing attention from other customers. "Lady, these cars cost more than a house. I don't think you understand where you are." Her cheeks flushed pink, but she kept her voice steady. "I understand perfectly well, young man." "Do you?" Tyler stepped closer, his voice dripping with condescension. "Because I've got actual buyers to help. People who can afford more than a bus pass." Jake shifted uncomfortably. A couple near the SUV display stopped talking. The receptionist pretended to organize her desk, but Mrs. Chen could see her listening. "There's no need to be rude," Mrs. Chen said quietly. "I'm not being rude. I'm being honest. You're wasting everyone's time here." Mrs. Chen's hands trembled slightly as she reached for her old flip phone. Could I make a quick phone call?" Tyler rolled his eyes. "Whatever. Just don't take forever." As Mrs. Chen stepped toward the corner, Jake whispered, "Dude, maybe ease up a little?" But Tyler was already turning back to his sports car, muttering loud enough for her to hear, "Some people just don't know their place." Mrs. Chen dialed a number she knew by heart, her voice barely audible. "Maggie? It's Mom. Could you come pick me up? I'm at Peterson's Luxury Cars on 5th Street. "Yes, that's the place." "No rush, sweetheart." She hung up and sat in the waiting area, hands folded, watching Tyler laugh with his friends about something. She'd taught teenagers for 43 years. She recognized the type. 22 minutes later, a sleek black sedan pulled up outside. Mrs. Chen straightened in her chair, but didn't move. The woman who walked through the glass doors looked like she owned the world. Designer suit, confident stride, and eyes that could cut glass. She scanned the showroom until she spotted Mrs. Chen. "Mom," she said softly, rushing over to embrace her. "Are you okay?" Tyler glanced over, mildly curious. The woman in the suit had an expensive look about her. Maybe she was a customer. "I'm fine, Maggie," Mrs. Chen whispered. "Just ready to go home." But Margaret Chen Williams wasn't ready to leave. She stood up slowly, her jaw set in a way that reminded Mrs. Chen of her late husband when he was truly angry. "Which one?" Margaret asked, her voice carrying across the showroom. "Which one what?" Tyler called out, still polishing his car. "Which one of you made my mother feel unwelcome in her own dealership?" The words hung in the air like a challenge. Tyler's cloth stopped moving. Jake took a step back. The manager's office door opened. "Your own dealership?" Tyler forced a laugh. "Lady, I think you're confused." Margaret walked toward him, her heels clicking on the polished floor. "Margaret Chen Williams, CEO of Williams Automotive Group. We own this place, along with 46 others." Tyler's face went white. The manager appeared beside him, looking like he might faint. "Mrs. Williams," the manager stammered. "I had no idea your mother was visiting." "That's the problem," Margaret cut him off. "Nobody had any idea. Nobody bothered to find out. You saw an elderly woman and decided she didn't belong." She turned to Tyler, who was now gripping the polishing cloth like a lifeline. "My mother taught high school math for 4 decades. She put 3 kids through college on a teacher's salary. She saved every penny, and when Dad died last year, she decided to buy herself something nice for the first time in her life. Tyler opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. She came here because this was Dad's favorite dealership. He bought his first car here in 1968. She wanted to honor his memory. Margaret's voice softened as she looked back at her mother, then hardened again as she faced Tyler. Instead, she got humiliated by someone young enough to be her grandson. Please, Tyler finally found his voice. I didn't know she was your mother. I was just... You were just what? Doing your job? Margaret's eyes flashed. Your job is to treat every customer with respect. Every person who walks through that door deserves basic human decency. The showroom had gone completely silent. Other customers pretended to look at cars while straining to listen. Jake wished he could disappear. I'm sorry, Tyler said, and for the first time, he sounded like he meant it. I really am. I was being a jerk. Mrs. Chen stood up slowly and walked over to them. Maggie, it's okay. No, Mom. It's not okay. But Mrs. Chen placed a gentle hand on Tyler's arm. The young man looked down at her, surprised by the kindness in her eyes. I've been teaching teenagers for 43 years, she said quietly. I know the difference between someone who's mean and someone who just made a mistake. You made a mistake, didn't you? Tyler nodded, his throat tight. Yes, ma'am. A big one. Mrs. Chen patted his arm. Good. Now you'll remember this moment, and maybe next time you'll think before you speak. That's how we learn. She turned to the red sports car Tyler had been polishing. Is this one for sale? Mom, Margaret said gently. You don't have to. I want to, Mrs. Chen said firmly. Your father always said I should drive something fun at least once in my life. 30 minutes later, Mrs. Chen was signing papers while Tyler watched in amazement. She was buying the car he'd been showing off, the $89,000 convertible, with cash. As she took the keys, Tyler approached her one more time. Mrs. Chen, he said quietly. Thank you for giving me a second chance to be better. She smiled up at him. Everyone deserves a second chance, Tyler. Just remember that the next time someone walks through those doors, you never know their story. As the red convertible pulled out of the parking lot, Mrs. Chen behind the wheel with a huge grin on her face, Tyler turned to Jake. I almost got fired today, he said. Yeah, you did. Good thing she was a teacher, Tyler said, watching the car disappear around the corner. Teachers know how to turn a mistake into a lesson. The next week, Tyler had a small sign made for his desk. Every customer has a story. Listen first, judge never. Some of the best lessons come from the people we least expect to teach us. Your turn to make a difference. Have you ever witnessed someone being treated unfairly because of their age or appearance? Have you stood up for someone who couldn't defend themselves? Share your story in the comments below. Tell us about a time when you chose kindness over judgment, or when someone surprised you with their hidden strength. If this story moved you, like this post to show respect for every quiet warrior who walks among us. Share it with someone who needs to remember that dignity comes in all forms. Comment respect to honor all the teachers, veterans, and everyday heroes who shaped our world. Remember, the next time you see someone who looks different or out of place, ask yourself, what's their story? You might be surprised by the answer. What will you choose the next time you witness injustice? Will you be Tyler before his lesson, or will you be the person who stands up for what's right? Never underestimate the power of treating everyone with dignity. You never know who's watching, who's learning, or whose life you might change with a single act of kindness.